Welcome back to the Balance Journey. Today we're diving into gratitude versus toxic positivity because I feel like we are going to face the aspect of gratitude where we almost have been forcing ourselves to be grateful and to just, find the positive. And if it's become toxic, we're feeling it. We're feeling it as an imbalance for ourselves. We're feeling it vibrationally, and we're just knowing that that's not what we want. We know what authentic gratitude feels like. We know how connected we feel to God when we're really in that mindset and in that heart feeling of gratitude. So when we're at the point of, having to address the fact that toxic positivity can kind of be something that we don't realize we've fallen into, then I want to talk to you about that in terms of kind of building up a firmer foundation and figuring out how do we make the challenges of life and blend them with positive, the things that we're naturally going to be grateful for. How do we bring those together to make solid bricks that we can continue to build our foundation of life? The problem is that toxic positivity is telling us, well, your pain is just another problem. You've got to fix it, force your gratitude somehow. If you just get there, if you just fake it until you make it. And because we always talk about here at the Balance Journey that vibration is a huge part of all aspects of life. That's just God's creation of, all things are vibrating. And so our thoughts, our emotions, that also has a vibration. And those vibrations we can't ignore and we cannot fake. You cannot mentally make yourself feel differently. And the vibration is a part of that whole mix. So, even though society has always meant well, to tell us to stay positive, if it leads to bypassing spiritually the part that is also honestly where we're at right now, then that can become toxic, right? So we all know when we're just performing gratitude instead of really feeling it, instead of really living it. And that performance, even if it's been fooling others, the fact that now you're saying, but I don't fool myself, and I definitely know I'm not fooling God, that's a great place to be. Because when we can say, I want to look at this gratitude versus toxic positivity, I want to settle it for myself, then you're knowing that you want a different experience, right? So in this time, if you're realizing that, okay, I don't want to spiritually bypass anything, then the most honest thing you can do is to just say, God, I really, really desire authenticity. I don't have words maybe for all that I'm feeling and experiencing and frustrated with, but I know that I want to be authentic with you and be authentic in myself. And I want to get there. And so something that I feel might help you in this time is an intention statement. And I just want to remind you, when I present an intention statement, it's just a jumping off point for you. Always I try to make my intention statements include accepting, being willing, and trusting. And you'll hear that in the intention statement I'm about to share with you. But also just know that it is not like an affirmation in the sense that it is you saying, this is my part that I'm going to play, God. This is what I'm bringing to the situation. And then this is my intention. And I'm not expecting anything in particular. All I know is that I can bring this willingly and fully to you, and I'm asking for your participation and you to come into this experience with me, right? So that's what I see as an intention statement. And so consider this intention statement, okay? Dear God, I accept that right now I am struggling with being genuinely grateful and feeling connected. I am willing to feel differently, but I don't want to lie to myself or you in the process. I am willing to receive your help to resolve both my highest intentions and these unhappy emotions and thoughts. I trust that you want me to find purpose and clarity even in this turmoil. Please help me to keep seeking with your help until my heart feels settled. Okay, so if you just took a moment to set that intention or you even just considered it, you are already starting to be more honest with Spirit because you're basically saying, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with gratitude and I don't want to fake it. And that's okay. So I want you to remember as you embrace this perspective, struggles are not obstacles, and as trite as this sounds, they are actually invitations. It's saying, come on, engage here, engage in life and engage with me. So Spirit is not giving us the struggles, but Spirit saying, I'm here for you. And so every honest moment that we actually want to participate in that, that can really bring us to the kind of genuine gratitude that we want to keep exuding in life. Okay? That's what spiritual stewardship is. And I like to call spiritual stewardship honoring your whole experience, because now you're saying, I can't fake any aspect of it. God, you know already what's in my heart. And now me as a mind, heart, spirit being of, being able to say, I can be intentional, I can be mindful, I can choose. Then you're choosing that you want to be a guardian of all of your life, who's saying, I'm not going to just, take the easy stuff and put it together. That's all the joys, the blessings, and so forth. And then ignore, avoid the heavy stuff, the challenges, the struggles, the pain. I'm going to find a way to bring all of it together and make the kind of bricks that are really built on honest struggle. Honest struggle and authentic gratitude together. This idea that we are spiritual stewards, and this whole idea of no longer being toxically positive or trying to slap on a smile when you don't quite feel it yet is going to be important. And I want to remind you about one thing. The word yet, or right now. I don't feel really grateful yet, or I don't see the solution yet. I'm really struggling right now. It's just acknowledging where you're at, but knowing it isn't a life sentence. And, let's just let go of any fake positivity. It's the best thing about recognizing it is that you become awake to, oh, that's not as genuine as I want it to be. I don't feel it, and therefore I know that vibrationally I'm at odds. Right? So just let's let go of that kind of fake positivity, just commit to wanting to be more of a spiritual steward of caring about authentic growth and being honest with yourself, and then bringing that to Spirit, just knowing that all aspects of our life experience have to be coming together. And in order to honor both your gratitude, the things that you're obviously easily grateful for, as well as the challenges, we do need real practices that actually can support that kind of intention. So what we're going to consider next is the idea that you can bring this balance and authenticity into your daily gratitude practice. So this daily gratitude practice is something I mentioned in my previous video about kind of just, having kind of something to start your day intentionally, and then midday reassessing where you're at, and then in the evening doing one more assessment. And the whole idea there was to just be mindful, right? To take a pause at least 3 times a day. So obviously gratitude doesn't only happen 3 times a day. But if we were to use that same structure now and say, okay, well, how do I deal with the stuff that I'm not so happy about? In the morning, in the lunchtime, or midday, and then in the evening, when you're pausing and you're just kind of seeking to be aware and kind of tune into the gratitude that you feel about any little thing or the big things. We talked about the importance of magnifying that, that it at vibrationally you're like, I'm tuning into just a little bit of that vibration, and then you're like, okay, I want to really feel it fully. I want to engage with that fully, because in a way that begins to magnify it, right? So you're obviously not wanting to think about the things that are challenging you or worrying you and think, oh, let me magnify that. But you still can acknowledge it. So let's just say in the morning, as you're considering, you're trying to use your senses, pay attention, and just, even if it's enjoying your warm cup of coffee or driving to work and seeing something that you, maybe a rainbow, or, just the blue sky, whatever it is that your senses are receiving, you're choosing to magnify. But then, simultaneously, you're like, oh, that bill is coming up and I got to pay it soon or something, right? So in this sense, the yucky stuff, you don't have to cover it with anything fake. Instead, what you might do is just say, God, I'm worried about that. Like pause and actually include God in that at the same time, where you just say, oh, I notice that this keeps coming to the forefront, and like you might say, please help me to be alert to the things that I need to do so that I can accomplish that. Or please help me to stay disciplined so that the funds that I need are going to be ready for what I need to pay. In any situation, what you're doing at that moment is you're just saying, I'm not running away from it. I'm not trying to ignore it. And I'm definitely not trying to say, oh, it's okay, it's positive in some way. I'm just saying, I'm worried. I'm stressed out. This keeps nagging at me. Whatever we're saying, you're just going to fully acknowledge it. So in this morning or whenever you are noticing that something flares up, I want to encourage you to take that time to just say, I notice it. Let me talk to God about it. Let me bring it there to spirit. Then we have the midday appreciation check-in. By the middle of your day, if you're trying to be mindful, intentional about finding moments of gratitude, let's say you're having lunch and you're scrolling through social media and you see somebody just got a promotion or they're having a fantastic vacation somewhere. The tendency, we talked about this in the last video, it's going to be, comparison. And that what you want to do is you want to focus in on the things you're grateful for. But now, instead of trying to just slap on some gratitude to that, maybe you're going to be able to say, wow, I really feel like my career is not moving along. Or, gosh, I wish we could go on vacation. We haven't talked about getting away for forever, right? So it's okay to have those acknowledgments. It's okay for you to notice and acknowledge that that's just where you're at. That's how you feel, And then true spiritual stewardship, not spiritual bypassing of that part of your thinking and that part of your emotions, would just be, instead of saying, shut those feelings down and just say, well, at least I'm grateful for this or I'm grateful for that, you're going to pause. You're going to actually just take the time to go, that would be really nice, maybe take yourself down that road mentally and emotionally of just saying, I acknowledge that would be nice without resenting the person that is having that great experience. Being able to just say, I know that would be pretty cool. If you can't say that, how can you say, but I do have some good things here? Because you haven't even bothered to acknowledge that you're frustrated that you don't have that. It's okay to say that. So don't rush to fix it up or cover it with forced gratitude, just acknowledge that that's just where you're at. Talk to God about that in your own way, Believe me, once you can acknowledge that, then whatever you are grateful for, because I know you're still going to be intentional and mindful about wanting to magnify the things that are here, that are in your life, that are good, you will feel those way more genuinely. The vibration you'll be able to magnify way more fully. All because you didn't skip over that comparison thought or the unhappy emotion of, just that yucky feeling that flared up in you. And then finally, we talked about an evening magnification reflection. And now what that might look like is, you're at the end of the day, you're winding down, and, your intention is to just really analyze, how was my day? Maybe you're lying in bed, you're ready to go to sleep, and you put your hands together or whatever, and you're just saying, here's my review of my day, right? Well, you're not only going to review those moments of felt gratitude, because you definitely want to feel into those again. You want to allow them to continue to revisit you and kind of raise your spirits. But you can also replay the day with this added honesty that, hey, I honored my disappointment today. I took a moment and actually just looked at my yucky thoughts, my yucky emotions, and I didn't shy away from them. I didn't try to tell myself, get over it and be positive. I was with them. In that sense, you might just say to yourself, well, I do love all of the things that I noticed, that I magnified to the positives, but I really also feel more at peace, about the things that I'm not quite there where I would like to be in life, because as I acknowledged those things, I was able to feel lighter. It's true that is usually the experience I've always had. So I really believe that will be your experience too. You just are able, like I say, you released it, you acknowledged it, and you were bringing God into the mix, and so you were able to say, here you go, this is where I'm at. It didn't change anything. You didn't say, take it away from me. You just said, it is what it is, and I know that's where I'm at right now. I'm not there yet. And so you are taking the time in your evening reflection now that you can actually bring that into the mix. Instead of only thinking about all the positives, which you want to revisit and magnify, you're also saying, it's a positive that I sat with that emotion and was maybe doing something more with it by bringing it to God, not just letting it kind of, move through my system and make me feel terrible. And so, at the end of the day, I just want you to remember that really true balance and gratitude together, it's just not about pretending that everything's perfect. This is what I mean when I say, we're turning challenges into growth opportunities. That's what I'm aiming for in daily life, in my own life, and then also what I share here at the Balance Journey. We're not expecting everything to be perfect. We're saying, I know what to do with the challenges. This is how I want to approach them, right? Just showing up honestly, seeking to engage with the gratitude parts, really magnifying those, but also engaging with the struggles, and bringing those to God, and being willing to just be honest with them, reminding ourselves, it's just where I'm at right now, So all of those things, asking for help to adjust our thoughts, asking for God to help us gain the value from experiences, but leave the pain behind. That will happen because that's the phenomenon of this, vibrational aspect of us as mind, heart, spirit beings. As we are willing to say, I'm willing to release it, it's like it allows for things to break up, for things to move, for things to flow, and for God to also kind of neutralize things for us, and just know that you can bring, in little moments, you can bring things to spirit, and we can do this knowing that we want to just say, I want to continue to be grateful, but I also want to just kind of resolve how I feel about struggles, about disappointments, about whatever is kind of weighing heavily on us. I want to release those vibrations and really allow for God to help me neutralize them. God really helps us in adjusting our way of thinking and seeing potentials and inspirations for how to continue to bring these experiences together into our lives. And let's just keep building a life of gratitude, releasing the lie that we're supposed to be positive when that's only becoming a toxic thing for us. And just know that the wolf of life, it can huff and it can puff, but you and I, we're not going anywhere, right? I'll see you in the next video.